Welcome to the first of the Picks and Ponderings video previews. I'm Paul Major of Picks and Ponderings. I'll be joined by the inestimable Nicolle Neulist. You can find me on Twitter at HeyLaserBeam, her at RogueClown, and jointly at Picks Ponderings as we move to video previews for the first time to discuss races 1 week out from the Breeders' Cup. Necessity is sort of the mother of invention, as we're using the video previews as an alternative to long form previews for reasons I'll dictate at the end of the video. But we're going to stick to racing and talking about horses. We'll be talking about two stakes today at Hawthorne. On Saturday at Hawthorne. They are both on the grass, the Cicero Handicap and the Stickney Handicap. Fall turf racing at Hawthorne, Nicolle. Catch the spirit.
Yes, indeed. We have two stakes races, the Stickney and the Cicero. They're both kind of familiar, but not completely the same as they were last year. You may remember last year, rather late in November, which got interesting, but we had the Bucks Boy Handicap and the Illini Princess Handicap. The Bucks Boy was the Open Company Illinois bred race, and the Illini Princess was the Illinois bred filly race. They changed the names this year because they changed the rules a little bit. Even though they're the same distance, mile and a 16th on the grass, even though the Illinois breds have first priority in the Stickney and the Cicero, non-Illinois bred horses can get in if they've raced here in the last 2 months and it didn't fill up with Illinois breds. And in both cases, there are a couple of horses that were not bred here who will run. Oh, and also the non-Illinois bred horses have to have been non-winners of stakes as well. So some restrictions on the non-Illinois horses, but there were a few who got into each.
Yeah, a good example of that is Lots of Lex, who draws into the female race. And she looks somewhat interesting in here, given that she also recruits Cisco Torres to take off some mounts for Indiana.
Well, actually, it wasn't. Cisco Torres isn't on Lots of Lex, actually. Cisco Torres is on Lovely Laurie. Torres rode Laurie 2 back at Churchill Downs. It's Tim Thornton who gets back on Lots of Lex, which is interesting because it was Tim Thornton who was on Lots of Lex a couple weeks ago when she beat Lovely Laurie in the de facto prep race.
Absolutely. Sid would help you. Yes. It's sort of the first preview, so we're sort of having a little bit of trip notes of stumbling out a little bit. But the idea is that both Lovely Laurie and Lots of Lex did square off in the allowance race on the early part of the Hawthorne card. And one thing we have to keep in mind with Hawthorne, and this is going to be very prescient when we get into Keeneland next week for the Breeders' Cup, is how much you have to handicap based on the weather. I mean, you could have it at Hawthorne this coming weekend where it's very nice. It could also snow, and that's something to keep in mind. That you kind of have to handicap a little on the fly because of what the ground is like. And I think and I'm not going to be playing for the firm ground that was present early in the meet when Lovely Laurie and Lots of Lex squared off at Hawthorne.
And no, I agree. The ground is not necessarily likely to be as firm as it was back during opening weekend, night racing, beginning of October. That said, unless Tom Skilling tells us something a little different in the next couple days, I'm not handicapping for a bog either. I'm not thinking it's going to be, the 2013 Hawthorne Derby all over again.
Right. I'm not expecting. Right. I'm probably going to play for what is sort of referred to as an autumnal good. It's probably going to be good. Maybe it goes up to firm, but I'm definitely playing for good or good firm if you're playing on a European condition basis. I'm going to be focusing on the horse I wanted to talk about before, and the horse I wanted to associate. And there was a reason I associated Cisco Torres. It's because I associated it with Lovely Lori, who I'm going to tap as the selection for me in the Stickney.
Well, that means we're a united front on this one, because I'm also tabbing Lovely Lori and think she's going to turn the tables on Lots of Lex here. I think Lovely Lori is going to be very sharp third off the lay, and I love the fact that Cisco Torres is shipping in. Torres was not aboard last out. Chris Amy was, and that's good. Chris Amy has been super, super hot lately, but Cisco Torres and Lovely Lori work really well together. Cisco Torres and trainer Michelle Boyce work really well together, and Michelle Boyce's barn has been one of the hottest on the grounds over the last week or so. Puntsville won, and Kitty's Castle won, and the last week or so, even this meet has just been super hot for her. It's been as hot as her Arlington meet was cold.
Absolutely, and Michelle Boyce knows how to train a grass horse. She doesn't get a lot of the publicity as, say, a Chris Block, a Mike Stidham, a Wayne Catalano, but give her a daisy cutter, and she's going to do good work with it. Yes, she's got a 9 of 11 record, but she's also 3 for 3 in the money at Hawthorne. Also keep in mind she ran incredibly last year in the Illini. She ran incredibly. Although that course was a frozen firm last out when she closed out her season at Hawthorne, so she does have some affinity over the lawn.
Absolutely, and that Illini Princess last year, it was her first try against Older. All the way around, it was a very good race. You're hard-pressed to find a horse as consistent over the grass as Lovely Lori, and she has a lot of upside to take a step forward here. She's run very good seconds in both of her races off the winter lay, and I see her being ready to run another really big one here. Second behind her, I did go with Lots of Lex, the horse who beat her last out in that allowance race, the prep. Out of this entire field, Lots of Lex and Lovely Lori just look like the two toughest horses here. They're both third off the lay. They both have the class. They both have the affinity at the distance and have shown good over the course. And even though there are some other decent horses, and we'll get to our long shots later, the ones to beat are Lovely Lori and Lots of Lex.
Sorry, you've kind of stolen my argument, and I apologize for the slight bit of technical difficulty. But yeah, with Lovely Lori and Lots of Lex, 99% of handicappers and 99% of people who play a Derby Wars same day pool or play a late season handicapping contest, they're going to tab both of them. And throwing your money on either of them in the late pick fours at Hawthorne is going to be the way to go, because even though Lots of Lex ran that clunker in the Modesty, she was facing some way better horses than her here in the Modesty. Apologies as we have a little bit of a technical difficulty on my end.
Meow. There we go. Now it's Paul and not a cat.
No, the technical difficulty was not that. The technical difficulty was, attention, your phone battery is running low. Attention, your phone battery is running low.
No, I'm saying it did in fact show a cat briefly, so...
Oh. Yes, that is my handicap. Yes, at Dixon Ponderings, I have a handicapping assistant who does occasionally, sit on forums and do all kinds of strange things and do all kinds of things. If you're trying to extract some value from this race, it's probably going to be who you put third in your trifecta, or you're going to take a stand and completely eliminate Lots of Lex and Lovely Loyery from the top 2 spots. For me, if I'm going to try to go for a long shot to watch, it's going to be someone who's got a very good affinity with a 3-year-old turfer, and that's Color Party, who's drawn in the 6-hole. Jerome the Right up in the saddle for Mike Stidham as of published time. Even though this one's still eligible for a Never Won 2 life, this one ran well last time out behind fellow entrant Dance with Kitten at Hawthorne. Goes third off the layoff, and keep in mind, Stidham is actually one of the better around here when it comes to 3-year-old turfers. Think back to the likes of Working for Hops. This one, as a 3-year-old, is going to get a weight allowance for facing elders, going 3 off the leg, and keep in mind, for the fact that Stidham eschewed Del Mar races for this one and didn't keep this one out in Southern California, tells you this one's looking for some weaker competition. Maybe this one's prepping for the fairgrounds, but keep in mind he's also got no Tide Oro in. I think with Color Party he's looking for a good stakes win, and doing it with a horse who meets the conditions, seeing as this one raced at Hawthorne.
No, I definitely see your argument with Color Party, and I agree that the value here is either tossing Lots of Lex and Lovely Loyery or finding someone else for the exotics. I can't toss Lots of Lex and Lovely Loyery. I would go so far as to say if I play a multi through this, I'm too deep, and it's the 2 L horses. As far as a long shot to toss in there, I'm looking at a complete other way. I mean, I looked at Be Playful, and she's been so consistent. She hasn't been out of the exacta all year, but there's really not going to be a lot of value tossing her into the exotics, or even a Compelling Case, who's interesting because she's first off the claim by Mike Maker, but again, probably not going to be a true bomb for the exotics like Color Party, or like my interesting bomb for the exotics, and that is rail-drawn Wave of the Wand. I'm looking at the early pace that the rest of this field can provide, and really any of these horses would be absolutely nuts to go with Wave of the Wand early. They'd be crazy, they'd burn themselves out. The question is Wave of the Wand good enough? I don't think she's good enough to win, particularly as close as Lovely Loyery is stalking. She's going to get first run, and if she's in any way on her game, Lovely Loyery is going to beat Wave of the Wand. But Wave of the Wand's probably going to be the longest shot on the board, or close to it, and has shown some game enough runs on the front end and trying to stay, even if she sets some breakneck early fractions, that for the price she's going to go off at, yeah, I'll toss her 2nd, 3rd, 4th in those intra-race exotics.
The issue, I see the case with Wave of the Wand in the sense that she's the speed of the speed. If it was a part, keep in mind that here in the greater Chicago area, we've had hardly any rain in the month of October. And if the course is parched, I would hop on the Wave of the Wand bandwagon as well, considering that parched course is going to be firm and it's going to carry horses that are inside and forward. See Wave of the Wand. I know you're trusting Channel 9's Tom Skilling. My weather people are calling for just enough rain Friday and into Saturday that soften up the course and make it a little more fair, and I think that plays more to the off the pace. But I agree that if you put one of the blocks block past Compelling Case or block present Be Playful in the 3rd spot, they're logical choices as underneath horses, but there's really not a ton of value you can extract unless you start really tossing horses in here.
Oh, I absolutely agree. This field it's very well matched. There are none of these horses who I look at and say, this horse has no chance whatsoever to hit the board. There are clearly ones that I'm more keen on than others, and you have to take his stand. And, my stands are that I think it's either going to be Lots of Lex or Lovely Lori who wins. They're going to be chalk, but I'm going no deeper than those two on top, and spreading a little in those lower rungs if I decide to play an inter-race exotic in addition to a pick 4.
Top 2 I agree on. For third, I'd probably go block present with Bleak Playful, but if the block present scratch, I'd go to block past and Compelling Case with my long shot to watch being Color Party.
And as for me, Lovely Lori on top, Lots of Lex, the other one to cover in a multi. Third, I would go for block past as opposed to block present, only because I really like that maker first off the claim angle on Compelling Case. And for my long shot to watch, Wave the Wand.
Alrighty. So for those of you who like to play in a sort of a quick pick number format, I'm going, like I said, with 4. Oh, with 3 over. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, 3 over 3 over 4 over 5 with a long shot of 6. And Nicole?
I am 3, 4, 8 with a long shot 1.
Alrighty. 1 down, 1 to go. We did the girls. Now we move on to the boys. They'll go an hour later in the Cicero. It's the same conditions as the Stickney, except they remove the gender restriction. Once again, a mile and a 16th on the Hawthorne grass.
Exactly. It's the Bucks Boy plus the restricted non-state breds. And here, there's a horse who I've sounded like a broken record all year, don't bet him, don't bet him, don't bet him, who I landed on. And another horse who I've been a broken record all year, bet him, send it in, bet him, who's my big stand against here. Which is to say, I landed on Crewman, and I'm not using Yankee Dealer. I'm looking here, and I don't see a whole lot of speed in this race. This isn't even a question of Wave of the Wand being the speed of the speed and there being, other possible credible speedy horses. Here, who is there? There's Crewman, there's Super Soldier. Affordable has sent in a paceless affair, but you'd never send Affordable against Crewman over Super Soldier. And Super Soldier sits back a little bit and Crewman gets away. He can do that. I'm keen to go too deep in this race and cover Crewman and Super Soldier because Crewman could get his way on the front end, and Super Soldier is going to be the one who gets first run, and as long as he comes back, and he's even just about back to his old self, which I've seen him after he did flip in the paddock before the teleprompter. That's why he was late scratched. That said, I've seen him up close, and he still looks like the same horse to me. I don't think there are any lingering effects from that. As long as Super Soldier doesn't go completely crazy and get scratched again, he's got the best chance to run Crewman and get away.
While Super Soldier is a forward style horse, and even though he had his paddock pre-race incident, I'm looking for a stakes double in on Saturday for Michelle Boyce, and I'll be tabbing Super Soldier. Keep in mind that last year on an autumnal firm at Hawthorne with the rail out, we're going to have the rail at 0, but in the past, Super Soldier has done well in non-closer friendly configurations. Super Soldier should get a course that works well with him. Keep in mind he doesn't want a course that's extremely firm. That's why he defected last year from the Bucks Boy, the race this replaces. I like the fact that he has the ability to be forward, but he doesn't have to be completely dependent on going to the front end. As I sort of adjust my camera here, he doesn't have to have the lead, but it's nice if he does. And I'm thinking the Super Soldier might offer a little bit more value from Yankee Dealer. People are going to look at that. People, I think, are going to look at that Saratoga race that he ran back in the summer, and I think people are still going to try to win after the war's been won with Yankee Dealer. So I will be going with an Illinois bred in this Illinois Preferred race, just the Boyce one over the Rebus one.
I agree with you. There are going to be people who are betting Yankee Dealer on the Saratoga race, on his races this summer, and he has been in such good form through the year. I mean, after that cracking second he ran in the Bucks Boy behind Coalport, he's been on fire. But his last out in the teleprompter was disappointing. He didn't fire, and it's not even like it was too unfriendly for an off-pace horse. Key to Power is an off-pace type, and he fired and he won. I'm going to bet, especially at the chalk odds that Yankee Dealer is going to be, that Yankee Dealer is over the hump. I'm not going to be covering him in my multi-races, and I think he's too underlaid. I'm going to go for E.T. Baird on the lead, pulling the upset with Crewman, and I've got Super Soldier, the Illinois bred, slotted second. Paul hit the nail on the head with his form, his affinity for the course, the fact that he does have a bit of a rating gear. I'll admit, Crewman doesn't have that, but I just don't see him getting much on the front end unless Super Soldier decides to take it to him. And at anything near that 10-1 on the morning line, especially with that positive jockey switch to Baird, he's worth taking a swing. Now for horse I slotted in third, that was tough because I'm going through this race and there was Crewman and Super Soldier. There's most of the rest of the field who could have a shot to invade. And I like Peach. Peach is, I don't necessarily like him to win, but he should get one of the earlier runs on the front end types. He's been in very strong form lately. He's never missed the board in 6 tries, going a mile and a 16th. He has hit the board in his only try at Hawthorne. Just his form, his speed, the way he should fit into the race shape, the fact that he has run some good races from the rail. I see Peach coming up and getting a share. He won't be a long shot. He's pretty logical. I'll get to my long shot later, but he's kind of my sprinkle in under horse.
I'm actually using Yankee Dealer as the sprinkle under horse just because I'm also thinking perhaps Rebus is going to sandbag this race and think taking this one to the Claiming Crown at Gulfstream. This horse is still eligible for the Claiming Crown Emerald, so maybe he puts this one sort of on ice under the expectation of let's instead try for a nice 6-figure race that's restricted as opposed to this 50,000 race that's restricted as well. I'm agreeing with you. The Yankee Dealer is a play against in this. For me, like I said, the top choice is going to be Super Soldier. I'll be using Yankee Dealer as an under. Another horse I'm going to go underneath is Affordable, who finally drops into something more realistic. He had been going around last year in ridiculously outside posts. He had all these ridiculous outside posts, and I felt like he could be the type of horse who could pop up and win a 50,000 stakes at some point. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he proved in the teleprompter last time out at Arlington that he isn't really capable of that. But at least I'm going to give him another. With Affordable, not really in the teleprompter, but in the black tie affair two-back. He wasn't in the teleprompter. He was in the allowance down at Kentucky Downs. My apologies on that. But keep in mind, I'm thinking that now that Affordable is maybe in company that's a little more realistic to him, he can finally run the race that I thought he was capable of at 3.
And with affordable, there's also the block B, C, whatever angle. I say B and C because Chris Block actually has 3 in here. I think Peach, who I mentioned a bit ago, is my sprinkle under as the block A. I would tab affordable as the block B. And I would tab Bold Rally as the block C. I don't think any of them are completely out of it, but I don't necessarily trust that affordable is going to be able to run back to what he showed at Kentucky Downs last out. And among the blocks, I'm more interested in Peach than anyone else. As far as my long shot to watch, although I'm not exactly sure we're going to get the 15-1 on the morning line, I'm looking at the number 2, Nate the Natural, the Michelle Boyce B entry. Nate the Natural took a while to figure the whole thing out and break his maiden. He finally did 2 back in the first race of the Kentucky Downs meet at a 1.5 miles. He came back at Hawthorne, cut back to a flat mile, and I played against him that day. I didn't think he was going to take shortening up that far all that well, and I had a little bit of money on Hey Pretty Boy that day. Nate the Natural rallied, nailed Hey Pretty Boy. After taking so long to break his maiden, he's won his last 2. The light is on. He's shown that he can rally from well off the pace or run a good race from relatively close to the pace, which is interesting given how little pace I do see in this race. And, at a decent price, I don't think you're going to get 15, but even if he goes off at more like 10, I'm happy to put Nate the Natural in the mix given his current form.
B5, you sunk my battleship. Sorry. I'm going the other Boyce angle as well with Nate the Natural, who broke his maiden going that long lap around the undulating Kentucky Downs course, and ran a good race back on the local slot at Hawthorne. If I'm going to be thinking keep in mind that Nate the Natural probably will need a little bit of a setup. It's possible that Super Soldier acts as the rabbit at this shorter distance, but also keep in mind I've got Cisco Torres riding. I'm not sure if perhaps Cisco Torres came in for his mount in the other stakes, or he's just staying around, or maybe he's got some family to see for a Halloween party. But if he's on a 15-1, the humans on this one make this one live by definition. I've got Torres, I've got Boyce, I've got an uncoupled entry. Even the 15-1 is a bit dreamy on the morning line. The horse that's probably between All Call and Lashad, those ones will have the morning line prices inflate. Nate the Natural's probably going to drift down, I'd say 9, 10, 11 to 1. But even if I'm thinking the mutual's over $20, 8 to 1, I'd still recommend the flutter on that.
And you make a good point too about Cisco Torres. Cisco Torres came down once before, and that was the opening day of the meet. He had 2 mounts, he had 2 wins, and one of those wins was on Nate the Natural. I agree that it's more likely that it was Lovely Loiry who was the driver for Cisco Torres coming down as opposed to Nate the Natural. That said, he's got the history on Nate the Natural as well. He's got the win on Nate the Natural, and they're live.
They're live, and as I've just realized, Indiana Downs is having an all-quarter horse day. Why is he here? Why isn't he at Keeneland? Think about it. Everybody wants to go to Keeneland this time of the year. Cisco Torres. I think Cisco Torres is showing he has an ace somewhere. Maybe it's Loiry, or maybe it's Nate the Natural. I'll be thinking about both.
Exactly. I feel the same way about Cisco Torres coming down for Lovely Loiry and Nate the Natural as I did that day during Kentucky Downs when Florent Giroux, who basically prints money at Kentucky Downs, shipped out to Woodbine and had 2 mounts. He had Catch a Glimpse in the Natama. No, it wasn't the Natama. It was, I forget what it was. No, the summer. No, it was Catch a Glimpse in the Natama. Catch a Glimpse was the filly, and in the summer he had the Zip Zip Man, and those were his only two mounts all day, even though there was a full day of racing for lots of money at Kentucky Downs. And sure enough, Catch a Glimpse wins her race, and somehow she was allowed to go off at 8 or 9 to 1. Something completely ridiculous given that Florent Geroux was giving up a day at Kentucky Downs to ride there. So, no, I agree. Cisco Torres is good enough. He'd probably get some mounts at Keeneland were he to go down there. And yet, here he is at Hawthorne riding in a pair of $50,000 stakes. He and Michelle Boyce are always live, and I can't count either of theirs out.
Well, I'm using Super Soldier as the top runner. Yeah, he's got the 9 post, but I'm not concerned about that. I'll be going 9 over 5 over 7 with a long shot of 2 in the Cicero, the 8th on Saturday, the 24th of October at Hawthorne.
And as for me in the Cicero, I'm going to go with the upset, number 7, Crewman on top, Super Soldier second, Peach underneath, with my long shot Nate the Natural. So my numbers in the Cicero are 7, 9, 1 with a long shot of 2. Thank you for listening to our first Picks and Ponderings video cast.
All right, thank you for joining us. As we said, we'll be doing these video podcasts sort of as a new way to get the Picks and Ponderings previews out to you, but it's also because, well, necessity is the mother of invention. Recently I was in an automobile accident, and I'm going to zoom out on the camera a little bit to show, sorry about that, my arm in a cast. It's my right arm, and I'm right-handed. That means I can't type. There's just no way around it. So I have to, if I'm going to give you, the Picks and Ponderings readers, your selections, I've got to figure out a new way. Unfortunately, this cast is on me through the Breeders' Cup. Almost dealt the jackpot day. But we at Picks and Ponderings will keep the fire burning. We will keep the selections going, even if, well, we've had things happen along the way. We're still here.
Thank you for tuning in, and hope to see you soon.